That's what guiding is. It's not telling someone what to do or where they should go or what they should do for work or, all these questions that I get asked all the time. Like, I don't fucking know any of that stuff. What the projector is here to do is to guide you back to who you are. I feel like after this age of information, when AI, I think it will eventually defeat itself. When there's nothing left to trust, people don't know where to turn. The only thing they're going to be able to do is to look inside and find their own truth. My first post on Instagram was, I've been depressed my whole life, and I just told everybody, and this is why I tell everybody I meet, I'm like, okay, you got to just get the ugliness out. I had so much ugliness in that solar plexus center. And when that was there, even when I started to kind of learn the language, like my expression still wasn't that healthy because I hadn't excavated all the shit that was it. And to me, human design is falling in love with yourself. But once you fall in love with yourself, then you can let everything that's present in you out.
Welcome to the Esoteric Alchemy Podcast, a space where we explore deeper layers of the human experience. I'm your host, Ben Figueredo, an alchemist, healer, and guide. Join me and my guests to the fringes of science and magic, the depths of the inner world. We'll explore topics related to spirituality, philosophy, sacred geometry, the occult, and more, with the aim of gaining deeper understanding of the reality of the self. All right, well, everyone, welcome back to the Esoteric Alchemy Podcast. Today, I am super excited to have Travis Day with me. He is a 1-3 splenic projector, and he has dedicated the past 6 years to the study and experimentation of the human design system. Not for any reason or desired outcome, simply out of raw passion and overwhelming fascination. The human design system became a catalyst from which he built his new life, a life filled with self-love and purpose, a life that he never thought possible. He is a highly intuitive, natural-born guide who attracts powerful beings on the verge of transformation. A teacher, a space holder, an activator, and a shocking transmitter designed to introduce you to your higher self and support you in living your design. Travis, welcome.
That's a mouthful. I need to distill that down. It's always weird listening to what you've written about yourself a while ago. Yeah. I think being a splenic projector, it's like I need to update my bio by the minute is kind of what it feels like.
Moment to moment. I'm this now. Oh, I'm this now.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. You're welcome. So you're in Bali right now. What are you doing? What are you doing in Bali?
In Bali, living the dream. I came through an invitation to do a human design New Year's retreat, which ended up not happening, but I find myself back on this beautiful island for a month. So I just, it's a special place in my heart. I just absolutely love it here.
That's amazing. Well, I wanted to have you on today to mainly talk about your journey with human design. I took your Living Your Design course back at the beginning of 2025. So almost a year now. Crazy. Yeah, you've been very influential in my own human design experiment. I really resonated with a lot of what you were saying, being a projector, 1-3, splenic authority. And it's been really cool to watch your own journey, your own experiment, and how you're navigating life. And so I wanted to have you on to talk about it. And I guess we can start, just you have a really cool story, with human design finding you finding human design, and your own like health and how you had some autoimmune issues that seemed to clear up almost immediately. You don't have to go too much into it because you've talked about that a lot on other podcasts. But I guess how has human design really changed your life? Like, how were you living before, or what was your mode of operation?
Yeah.
And then now, what does it look like now, 6 years into your experiment?
Wow. It's always a treat to even be asked that question so I can look back. I live my life pretty spontaneously in the moment, so I don't reflect back often. But yeah, it's a trip. And I first just want to say, like, I remember meeting you for the first time, and instantly I was just like, all right, I really like this guy. There was just an immediate resonance, and we have very similar profiles. And yeah, it's nice to meet more men in this space too. I think it's so important. So yeah, just thanks for being here and the invitation.
Thank you.
I was thinking the other day, like, if I were to distill down my transformation, like, what would it be? And before I found human design, or before I even started my journey of any kind into kind of the spiritual realms, I had this like deep, dark truth that lived inside of me. And it kind of got pulled out of me during my Saturn return. I didn't even know it was there. And what it was I'm surrounded by people, and somehow I feel completely alone inside. And that was my life before human design, my life as a projector, my life being born into a big family and not receiving the one-on-one attention that I needed for recognition, and just this complete confusion in like, I've immersed myself in society. I go to a public school. I have friends. I'm popular, all this stuff. But why do I feel like I'm on the outside looking in to this life? It just wasn't, I wasn't fully in it. It was so confusing why I felt so alone. So that was kind of like this truth that lived in there. And then when it got pulled out of me, and I became conscious of the fact that I even felt alone, because I didn't have that language. I was just depressed, I was just a sad person, and I just didn't know why. So that truth came out of me. Shortly after that, I found human design, found out I was a projector, and my life suddenly made complete sense. So just having the permission and the language and the insight to that, I'm just different. I just operate different. Just that alone changed everything for me. And then, yeah, the 6 years since has been just a complete massive transformation into just love and opening my heart and feeling my emotions for the first time, and deep connection and intimacy with people, and passion in my work, and becoming a guide, and all of this study. It's I still don't know the person I have become, because I'm every day something new, so it's funny. If you were to know me prior to this journey, you just laugh, because it was a sad sight, sad one.
You mentioned, and I'm kind of experiencing this recently, just with your relationship with emotions. Would you explore that a little bit? Like, you have an open solar plexus, and so you're non-emotional, what we call in human design. Did you feel, were you more repressive, I guess, in your emotions, or avoidant, with that very open solar plexus? Or were you the other way?
I was completely avoidant. I was brought up in a household where feelings were not talked about ever, and most of my family was emotional. So it's funny to look back, because in my relationships, especially in high school and whatever, like, I just would go into what we would call in my family the cave. And the cave is a place you go to when you are too afraid to express your emotions. You completely just shut down and you can't even speak. So I remember being in relationship with my girlfriend in high school, and say I wanted space. I just wanted to take space. I'm a 1-3. I need space. I didn't know that back then. I thought taking space was a terrible thing to ask for. So I just wouldn't say anything. And then there would be tension created between us. And then she would be asking me, like, what's wrong? Oh, all these things. And I literally could not get myself to speak a fucking word. And I remember sitting there knowing my truth and knowing what I wanted to say, but physically not being able to summon the courage to actually say it. Like, it was that much of a problem for me. And so, like, that was the extreme that I was at in the ability to, or inability to, express my emotions as a young man. And then the other side of it was my family was so emotional, but it wasn't being talked about or processed in the right way. So I would be the angry one because it felt so terrible in my system. So with my family, I would act out. I would, break things. I would yell. I would just kind of go crazy. So I had these two sides of me. In intimacy, I would shut down and completely avoid, but in family, I would explode and be the one who would at least get that emotional energy out in unhealthy ways, obviously. But those were the two sides of the coin for me in emotions.
Wow, yeah, I have that same experience,
Yeah.
especially in my, past relationship, that same thing of something's happening, there's some conflict, but then it's like I just freeze up and it's like I just can't, I physically can't, like you were saying, I can't even physically express myself. Like it's like my body is just frozen. And I know it's, a nervous system fight or flight response.
It's the
But yeah,
nervous, is that what you feel? Because for me, it was like I would get so nervous, like
yeah,
literally
yeah.
like this, that if I said this, then what, it was like a life or death thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I can remember sometimes like having, oh, I want to say something, but I'm so like nervous of what is going to happen that I don't want to,
Yeah.
I can't, like I physically can't say it. Ah, yeah, that's incredible. So what's your, how would you say, your relationship is now with feeling and emotions and conflict? Where are you at these days?
Yeah, I think my level of sensitivity has got like just skyrocketed, and it's funny to me to say non-emotional, that's what we say in human design. I really don't like that term because open solar plexus people, we're the most sensitive to emotions, and I think we're the most capable of holding and feeling, and like the depths we can go to are incredible. So my first before I found human design, my first post on Instagram was I've been depressed my whole life. And I just told everybody, and this is, I tell everybody I meet, I'm like, okay, you got to just get the ugliness out. I had so much ugliness in that solar plexus center. And when that was there, even when I started to kind of learn the language, like my expression still wasn't that healthy because I hadn't excavated all the shit that was in there. So the first step for me was like, I'm just going to get it out. Oh, because once I did, it felt so good. There was such a release, there was so much freedom after I first expressed myself that I just went on a rampage of anything that's inside of me. I'm just getting it out. I'm just getting it out there. And I started to use social media as a platform to actually express my own bullshit. I posted old pictures of me and was like, see this guy, like he was so unhappy. This was such a lie. Like what I wrote was a complete lie. So I started to just kind of like go in and just get as much ugliness and as much emotion out. And I haven't really stopped. It's been an
That's amazing. I love that. I might have to steal that idea.
Everybody should steal that idea. We're doing it in the Projector Lounge now. I'm like, look, there's ugliness in there. And this is what I think what I've realized the most is this is how people connect to each other. Our heightened expression, who we are, it's so unique. No one can really relate. We can gain great insight and awareness to witnessing somebody's outer authority. But when you really connect with somebody, it's through the shit that we've gone through. That's all the same. We all experience insecurity and self-hate and feeling ugly and all of these things. We all experience that. So I think it's such a beautiful gift if you can share the ugliness. You are really connecting to everybody around you, even if they might not tell you, but you are, and it's a big gift. So I'm a
Yeah.
huge advocate for that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And as a projector, can you speak to, how we absorb so much more than other people with our absorbing aura as far as like the emotional energy? Because, I had an experience where several actually, two now, in regards to two different people where I had like had all this emotion coming up. A lot of it was grief, and then some of it was like self-image, like literally self-hate, a body, like hating your body. And then like as this was coming up and I was processing it and feeling it, and at first
when it started happening, I was like, no, I don't want to feel this. Like, this feels like too big. It feels like I'm going to die. But after everything I had been learning, I was like, no, I'm just going to sit here and like allow myself to feel it, and not knowing where it was coming from. But then I clearly got this image of who it was. And I was like, oh, these aren't even my emotions. Like these are his emotions, because he's been, confiding in me, and, I've been supporting him. And it's like, oh, I've taken on these emotions, and now I get to process them and work through them and let them go and just feel them. And for me, what I kind of came to the conclusion was like, okay, this is kind of like, I feel like it's a gift that I have, because as he was telling me about this grief that he was going through, I had compassion, and I was like, oh yeah, like, I'm sorry that you're going through that. But I couldn't really sympathize because I didn't fully understand what he was feeling. But then when I actually felt it, I was like, holy shit. Like, now I actually have real sympathy and can and really understand what he's going through. Um and so, yeah, I don't know. Have you ever, experienced anything like that, as far as like, the intensity of taking on other people's emotions?
Well, I think what you just said, I think that's the beauty of the open solar plexus.
Yeah.
Like, once you stop avoiding, I'm not going through huge emotional waves on my own. And I spend a lot of time alone, as I 1/3 splenic projector travels all the time. So my baseline is pretty, like, I'm pretty tapped into to how I feel consistently, So when I do get around other people who are very emotional, and all of the sudden, I'm wrapped up in something that feels not me, it is easy to now look at that and be like, okay, this must be coming from somebody else. Whether it is or isn't, I don't think it really matters. But to me, the beauty of the open solar plexus is to be able to not react, not well, I was going to say not get uncomfortable, but it's always uncomfortable, but to be able to sit in that moment, stay present. And if it feels healthy and my spleen isn't telling me, get out of here, this isn't for you, to be able to mirror that back, and to, if invited, give that wisdom to that emotional person, and really help them with what they're going through. Because emotional people, man, they have, we all, whether you have it defined or not, in my experience, we were not taught how to deal with emotions, as from a very young age. A lot of us were taught either to avoid or become attached, or whatever the case is. So yeah, I think it's a beautiful way that the centers work with each other. And I really feel like where we're open is where we're meant to hold space, and where we can really bring the most value to people. But maybe the most important thing to talk about there is, are they wanting that advice from us? Are they even in a place to be able to receive our guidance? Or is it just a relationship where all of a sudden we're feeling their shit, or we're feeling the depth of their pain, or we're feeling whatever, and there's nothing for us to do?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think there can be beauty and meaning in just feeling something with
Yeah.
somebody else, and
How did
not
it go with
having not
the
having
guy? Did you give him the reflection, or was he asking for help in that area, or was he just wanting to vent? Like, I'm curious how it went.
Well, I was there for him when he was going through his own divorce, and so it was just a lot of um yeah, just walking him through. And as he was, he would come and we would talk. And um I would, it was very much, he invited me to share whatever, and whenever I had something for him, I would share it. I didn't always have something, come up. It was just, sometimes it was just like, just be there to listen and give him a hug. And but yeah, it was a good time, to be able to learn and experience that with someone, and then later on realize when all of that, because it wasn't even like, when I started feeling all of that emotion, he wasn't even around. Like, I was just washing the dishes one night, and then all of a sudden all this emotion started coming up, and then I just basically fell on the ground, like face on the ground, bawling my eyes out, not knowing where all of this pain and sadness and all this stuff was coming from. Yeah, and then that's when I saw very clearly. It was like, it's from him. And I was like, oh, okay. And it transformed that experience because then it made the load, the feeling, lighter, the energy that was passing, moving through me. It gave it meaning in a sense to where I was like, oh, okay, like I can carry this for my friend, I can do this. And I don't know, it was a really cool, very, very cool. And it was a learning experience for me. Just knowing, okay, here I am. This is part of how I'm designed. Knowing I maybe should be a little bit more careful with, who I'm around and what I take on, just because it is a lot of work. It is very taxing on you. But then when it feels like you said, listening to my spleen, when it feels right for me to be there and feel that, then that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me the hard part is maintaining your truth when you're feeling and wrapped up in the emotion. It's so easy for me to all of a sudden make it about me or make it like, oh, it's my thing. And there's an aspect in emotion where it is all of us. We do live in this emotional field, and I guess I won't get too woo woo, but yeah, can
Get
I
woo woo. Get woo woo. I love woo woo.
just, I mean, in intimacy, like if we look at the channel of intimacy, in the body graph, it's the 59-6, so I think in any relationship, there's going to be, it's where the pleasure lives, it's like life would be so boring without it. So in a way, we're all feeling these frequencies, and to say one, it's mine or yours, to me is a little too cut and dry, a little too black and white, because we're always bringing our own stuff to the relationship as well. So yeah, to me, it's I think early on I could feel in those emotional moments, I would really lose myself. I would lose my truth, and I would kind of get wrapped up in the emotion. And now it's much easier to feel, to go there, to look, but to also take time and space to myself as a splenic person to maintain my truth when that frequency isn't there, or at least come back to it.
Yeah. Yeah. It comes back to non-attachment, right? Just having that awareness of what's going on, but then
Yeah.
just not attaching to the experience of like, oh, this is me. Even
Yeah.
if it was your emotions that you're feeling, it's technically not, because all, like, I think where you're going, that emotional field, it's coming from a higher plane of reality, and it's just passing through us to be felt and move on. It's an experience that we're having. That's why I like to say it's like, I'm not sad, I'm just feeling sadness. It's, reframing it that way and makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and then feeling it, which is the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Feeling it. Yeah.
You feel it, let it pass through, and then it will go, and then something else will come. But yeah, to get too fixated on it, or I think a lot of people want to really, explain them away too fast or whatever, instead of just feeling it.
Right. Yeah. And it leads to a lot of work I do with emotion code, and realizing that if we don't feel the emotions, that energy, we suppress it because our body is not allowed to process it, and that energy actually gets trapped in our physical body, in our emotional body, and then eventually it causes blockages in energy, which can cause physical problems later on in life or almost immediately. So yeah, learning to really feel has been a big part of my journey as well. To just let it go. It's like, okay, this isn't bad. This isn't good. It's just a feeling. Let's just move on. Let's process it and have that nice
That's
experience.
too splenic emotional, man. It's wonderful.
That's awesome. So what would you say is like the biggest impact that human design has had on your life? Like, if there's one thing.
That's a tough one. I think it's just maybe just feeling alive. Like I've never felt more alive. I've never. It's like my capacity. I've expanded my capacity to feel life, to experience love, to yeah, it's like living. It's like I got a life. Before human design, it like wasn't mine. It was some homogenized path that I was on. And since then, it's like, wow, I didn't know I didn't know this was possible, and to me, it is feeling, and it is love, it's sensation, it's relationships, opportunity, travel. Yeah, my whole life has changed drastically for the better.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love that answer.
The whatever is coming in 2027 is about the solar plexus, right? So it's not. I think there's so many conversations to be had around emotion and this new awareness that's coming in, and to go from completely avoidant to like my life is so much better because I can feel now. To me, that's what's coming, and to me, human design is falling in love with yourself. But once you fall in love with yourself, then you can let everything that's present in you out. You can just be. It doesn't mean feeling good all the time. It means feeling everything that's there. So yeah, to me, that's it's that allowance. And I think the preparation of what's coming, and if what is solar plexus awareness? That's what's coming in 2027. I have theories there.
Yeah. Well, that's that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. So maybe this is a good segue into 2027. So yeah, there's the aspect of the solar plexus mutation. There's the aspect of moving into the cross of the sleeping phoenix, away from the cross of planning. You just did a video the other day that I loved and like totally clicked in my head. For some reason, I always forget about the fact that the line's changing as well.
Yeah.
And moving from the line 1 to the line 6. So I would love it if you wanted to talk a little bit more about what you were kind of getting at in that video with, moving from this age of information to an age more of embodiment.
Yeah, I was actually talking to a friend and she said something and then it clicked for me because I was having the same experience of like, I don't know your stance on AI, but I feel like what the core of it is we're going to have access to all the information. Like we have access to more information than we'll ever be able to, read times a billion, and there's still a feeling that it's not enough. So I feel like what the truth we're getting to at the end of this cross is that information isn't enough. It will never be enough. And what has to happen is the embodiment of the information. And what is truth anyways? There is no such thing as truth, in my opinion. It's all an individual, we all have our own perception and our own perspective. We all have our own inner truth. So I feel like we're getting to a point where AI can create an account and start giving you information, but I don't feel anything from that, and the age of the 6th line, the role model and the new awareness that's coming in is solar plexus awareness, which is our emotion. So to me, it's about the embodiment of our own inner truth and our ability to create a presence where that truth can be felt. And to me, that's having nothing in between two people's auras. I think that's what the raves are going to be like. It's just instantaneous awareness. They're sharing this awareness because there is no bullshit in between their auras. And when we connect with people or we are intimate with people, there's always some shit in between. I'm insecure. What do I look like right now? Oh, am I talking too much? Is this, there's all of this not self stuff that's keeping us from just having that presence, opening our chest, leading with that G center, and just saying, here I am. This is how we meet each other. And I think as projectors, we're leading the charge on this, because that's the only way that we truly receive a clear energetic exchange, is when there's nothing here. I'm so in you right now. I'm so present. I'm so aware. I'm not worried about me. I'm not worried about anything that's going on. I'm just present with what I'm feeling. And then I'm connecting with you. And if you can do that with me, then it's like, wow, there's a magic that's going on. We really are seeing each other for the first time without anything in between. I've had a few of those experiences in my life, and then I think that's what love is. If we want to experience love, I don't think we'll ever experience it to the point where we do when we die, and the magnetic monopole gets reunited with the design crystal, But I think our potential now to experience love is to really have this presence with another person where there is absolutely nothing in between your truths, and connecting that way is I think a very rare but beautiful thing. And I think maybe that's what the raves will experience, because they're not going to give a shit. I don't know. It's just, it's just going to be there.
Right. Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, I've had a couple, well, mainly one experience with one other person that I can think of, just of like, on this level of resonance where it was like no words were needed, and it was just this presence of like love and oneness, if you want to say, of just like experiencing that no bullshit, no nothing in this, just in the presence of another person, fully feeling love and being recognizing and being recognized.
Yeah.
And that was amazing experience. Yeah, it's interesting. So to kind of keep touching on the one line thing, because it resonated for me, because I've been feeling that too, of like, even just with AI, I don't really use it. I don't really touch it. I'm like, I don't really care too much. I think that with all technology, kind of what the pattern that I see with my channel of judgment here is that with every new technology, it's like we've gotten faster and faster, like even to the point where it feels like time is speeding up, and we're always racing to like the next best thing, right? We're like, oh, we need more, we need to make it better, we need to go. And with AI, I mean, AI has exploded in the last couple of years with how fast it has, quote unquote, progressed, at least with its capabilities. And everybody is pushing it now, like, oh, if you're not using AI, if you're not doing AI, you're going to be left behind, and you're not gonna have any success. And it's just like, go, we got to get on top of the AI thing. And I don't know, for me, I see it we're racing to this, like, where are we actually going with it? It's just kind of this emptiness. And I think it has its uses, it has its purposes. I use it to help edit podcasts, but I think where a lot of it's, like all of that information being accessible, I've become so fatigued to information, to the point where it's like my brain doesn't even want to. It's like, oh, I'll have something I'm interested in, I want to read, and I'll like start reading it, and then I'm like, like, I just don't want to right now. And then moving into that sixth line, like it for me, it's more like, oh, I want to embody this information. And even with human design, when I'm teaching it or I'm talking about it, I don't want to just teach the mental, like, even though like that's important, but how do we embody this information? Because that's where it really makes the difference, right? Is when it actually changes our life, when our body, when we're embodying it, practicing it, and experimenting with it. So where do you see, human design playing the role in the future post 2027? I know you've mentioned before in the past, I think maybe Ross said this, that the raves, babies born after 2027, they don't really give a shit about human design or the information. So do you see like human design kind of fading out as far as like this knowledge system, or what do you think?
It's a good question. I see the world changing in from this age of like, I need a certification and I'm just going to get wrapped up in the knowledge and go through all of these studies. I think as the world changes, there's going to be no reason why anybody would go down that path anymore. I think the new path that's going to be laid out for everybody is embodiment. And right now we can still get away with the certifications and the cramming of the knowledge and getting lost and getting stuck there. But I think once we have the shift, there isn't going to be there's going to be no reason for that. So I think that's what's coming. And I don't think it's like we're going to choose it. I think it's just like I said in that video, I feel it inside of me. I love human design. I studied this every day for 6 freaking years. I listened to Raw on repeat for weeks at a time sometimes, like I couldn't get enough of the information. I fucking love it. And I think it's the most incredible body of knowledge that we'll ever get to experience as a human, as humans, in terms of figuring out how this all works here, but as we move forward, I think where you're at with the information is kind of where you're going to be at with the information. And I think at that point, anybody, you don't need a human design to live your truth. That's the thing. I think that's coming. I did, and it was a perfect segue for me because I found it at the right time. But I think now if we want to shift, it's going to come through more being with role models, being with people who have embodied it, who can give you the transmission oracally, who can give you the energy and the guidance without the decades of study. I think things are just happening faster, and things are happening more I want to say magically, but it seems like since COVID, really everything's been speeding up, and I think our transformation is there's going to be a possibility to transform a lot faster through other means than deep study and certification. I never liked certifications to begin with. I can kind of see I could see the bullshit in the marketing strategy and the money making crap. A lot of that stuff is not all of it, but.
Yeah, that's funny. I've had my own thoughts about getting certified in certain things, and like, oh, is this really that important? Because it's just somebody else telling me that I'm worthy of whatever, teaching this information.
The funniest thing I tell people now is like, it doesn't matter. And in the Projector Lounge, I just had a homework assignment for everybody to share something uncomfortable emotionally about themselves on social media. And I tell people like, how I started my Instagram account was literally telling everybody I was depressed. That's how I started my journey. And it's grown, and people resonate with me, and it's only because of my presence and the way that I show up. Sometimes I teach stuff, but if I wasn't being authentic, it wouldn't go well. Like I wouldn't have anybody, reaching out or recognizing me. So I think what we're learning again is like, information isn't enough. Start leading with authentic presence, and everything's going to go the way it should.
Yeah, that reminds me that we were just talking about the Lost before, how before we got started, and I just watched a documentary about Lost, the TV show from 2004. If anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, and it was.
You haven't watched it, don't start.
Yeah. But anyway, it was I was watching this documentary, basically how they started it, how they started making it, and it was I'm trying to remember who had I can't remember if it was J.J. Abrams, the director. He had the idea, and it was like literally just started with an idea of, this plane crashes on an island and it's full of mysteries. One of them's a hatch and like weird creatures, blah blah blah. And he pitched it to the TV exec, and it was like, I love it, let's do it. And he's like, really? And the whole time they're putting this together, they have no idea what they're doing. Obviously they're filmmakers and stuff, so they know like that side of things. But as far as the story goes, they're just making it up as they go, and they're getting the actors, and then they're changing the characters based on the actors that they like and what the actors do. And it's like, oh, we were going to kill that guy, but we like him too much, so let's keep him and rewrite the whole character and make him, and it was so cool and inspirational, because it's like, oh, they're just doing it and watching it happen. They didn't have a plan. They didn't, they're just doing it for the passion, for the love of creating a story, for telling a story and creating art.
Yeah.
And it all came together and became one of the biggest cult shows, in that era of television. And then also, had one of the most polarizing endings of all time, the most memorable, TV show. So yeah, it was a cool, just, what you're saying about just being authentic, showing up. Don't necessarily need to know what the hell you're doing. You don't need to have all these certifications. It's like, and it's just be yourself, be authentic, express who you are, follow your passion, and, just allow that to be your guiding light, your compass. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Great show.
Yeah.
And we've all seen certified people who fucking suck and uncertified people who are brilliant, so I agree wholeheartedly with all of
them. Okay, so let's shift a little bit away from a human design, then we can come back to it. But this is actually something I've been wanting to ask you about for a long time, because you share about it. I'm still not quite sure exactly what it is. You're trained in a practice called Aguahara. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So can you explain what Aguahara is and what it's used for?
Yeah. So there's kind of the bigger umbrella, we would call it aquatic body work, or aquatic energy work. It came from a practice called Watsu. I think Watsu was the original one. So a lot of people may have heard of Watsu. It came out of, I think it's a place called Harbin Springs in California. And what it is really oh God, it's so hard to explain, because it's one of those things where you hear about it and it sounds like, oh, that's kind of cool, but then you experience it and it's like a whole other fucking dimension opens up to you. But pretty much what happens in a session, I'll share my story of my first session so you can kind of get a feel for it that way. Okay. So I was doing free dive training in Thailand. And one of my freedive instructors said, hey, I do this practice called Aguahara. It's like body work in the water. I was like, okay, cool. So anyways, you get floated up. So I get floats just below my knees. And then we went out into the ocean. It was awesome because we could do it in the ocean in Thailand, because you need a very specific temperature of water and you need it calm, obviously. And then you just want to really go into like a meditative state and just kind of like relax as much as you can. So then he brings me into a floating position. So I'm completely horizontal on the top of the water. My legs are floated. So you're just completely relaxed. And it's so bizarre because usually when we're in water, we're bracing, we're having to keep our head out. It's a dangerous place to be if you don't know what you're doing. You can drown. So most of the time when we're in water, we're in some sort of protection mode, or we're at least being safe. So to be actually 100% held and to let go of everything and really put your trust in another human being in the water, just that in and of itself is a really transformative practice in trust. And lots of people have fear of water, and it can be a really beautifully healing thing, just being held like that. So this is kind of how we start. Then it becomes more of an intuitive dance with the person, and we have different technique and different movement and different dance, literally, that we can start to move the body in the water. Then eventually, if you're comfortable and that's feeling good, we get a nose clip. And you put the nose clip on, and then there's different movements and technique to actually take somebody underneath the water in that relaxed state. And so it was going great. It feels amazing. There's different stretches and hip movements, and your spine can actually snake, in the water. There's all kinds of things. There's all kinds of movements your body can do in the water, because there is that layer of protection of being held by the water itself. So you can move the spine in ways that you wouldn't be able to move on land, for example. But after, 20 minutes of that, he took me under for the first time. My eyes are closed. I completely relaxed and surrendered. I'm in a meditative state, and you go underneath the water, and it was like moving through dimensions, and it was like this whole other world came up. And I just remember this feeling of like pure bliss and joy came to me that I didn't, I had never experienced joy in that level. And it was just from this dude moving me passively, underneath the ocean. So it's a dance. It's an intuitive session. There's energy exchange. There's movement. There's a relationship with the water flowing over your skin. It's a profoundly relaxing, transformative, emotional experience. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds really cool. I could see how that would be very transformative, because I am one who has some fear around water, especially the ocean. So how has, aside from that experience, now that you've been practicing it and learning the technique, how has Aguahara impacted your life?
Yeah. After that first session, I knew I would do it. I go, wow, this is such and to me, practices like these are made for projectors. And maybe the biggest aha moment that I've had is, and this is, wow, what a perfect circle back to the first and the sixth line transformation, I can do all the technique. I can learn all the moves. I can do everything perfect. And the session's going to suck unless I'm present with the person in front of me. And in one of my trainings, I had a profound moment where I had this woman in my arms, and we were learning a move, and then we were doing a little mini practice session. And I was so focused on the movement, and I wasn't really looking at her. I was really just worried about my footwork, or I forget what exactly was happening. But in this split second, I said, fuck it all. Just be present with her. Just look at her. And I looked at her, and I saw her, and I felt my whole body just completely change, in the way I was holding this woman. And in a second, she looks at me and she goes, what did you just do? Whatever you just did was like incredible, And I said, I just looked at you. That was it. So it was like instant feedback that my presence with another person is really all that matters, whether it's my human design readings, whether it's my projector lounge, whether it's my Aguahara. It's all about my authentic presence and my ability to just be with another human without worrying, with technique. And that's the thing about technique. It's like eventually you just transcend it. And when I'm really present with somebody, the technique goes out the window. I used to write pages and pages of notes before a human design session, and all the things I was going to tell this person about their design. I never read a fucking sentence of those notes. Once I got on that call and once I was present with the person, it just intuitively would come what needed to be exchanged. So to me, it's, God, projectors this is our gift. Our gift is our attention and our presence with another being. It has nothing to do with what I'm going to say or what am I going to do or what technique I have. It's just like how deeply can I see this person? And then when I'm seeing that person, I'm intuitively feeling what they need. Oh, they want to move this way. Oh, they want to speed up. They want to slow down. They're ready to go under now. They're not. Or, I need to push here, or I need to be sensitive and just hold space, or my 5125 needs to fucking slap this person right now. It all doesn't come from me. It's all my ability to be present, to be with the person, and then letting their energy dictate my movement. And in the water, one of the most beautiful things I heard was it's like a physical representation of Tai Chi. It's like when you're moving from your hara, or you're moving intuitively, you actually get to see the energy, how the energy flows in the expression of the body that's moving through the water. It's very cool when you think about it at that deep level. So yeah, it unlocks so much for me, this water work. And I'm a Pisces, and gate 44, I'm a 44-26. 44 carries so much water wisdom. Yeah, I could talk about this forever. It's deep.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. You can feel and hear the passion for it. That's why I wanted to ask you about it, because I know how impactful it has been for you. Also noting, I did not know about the 44 and water, so that's interesting. Maybe we can come back.
Yeah.
So how, if any, maybe have you contemplated, or has it shown up in your life, integrating these two passions of yours, human design and Aguahara? Has there been any lessons from Aguahara that have helped you integrate your design, or how you maybe transmit the knowledge?
That's a really good question. I would love, my dream is to have a pool eventually where I could do human design sessions and water sessions together. Because again, I think it's kind of like the 1 and the 6, to me, human design is the understanding and the acceptance and the permission of who I am. And it's given my mind so much to explore, and that in and of itself has helped me relax into being more me. But human design hasn't helped me release my traumas, or work through the stuff that lives in my cells from my ancestors, or these patterns that we carry throughout our lineage, and all of that stuff I have released in other ways. So to me, I think this is the 1-3, maybe. This is yeah, the marriage of these two energies. So I think when I hear people like bash human design, or say it's not this or it's not that, like, human design is perfect for what it is and what it does, but it was never meant to be the water also. So for me, it's just another piece of the puzzle that's really helped me in releasing traumas that lived in my body that I didn't know were there. It's almost like going back into the womb. I had memories come up of being in the womb, and realizations of what I was feeling in there. That's really helped in my process. So I think, has it helped me like embody more of my projector design? I don't know if I can say that it has, other than it's helped me release baggage and stuff that's kept me from being authentic and loving myself. So in that way, I guess it has.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's how I see the 1-3 profile as well. Obviously, the line 1 is in the mental personality side. The line 3 is on the body side. But for so long, for me personally, when I first came to human design, I saw this dilemma that I had, where it was on like the shadow side of, the line 1 is afraid to do anything until it knows everything about what it's going to do, and then the third line's like, oh, but we can't know everything until we actually do it. It was like this dichotomy of like, fighting. And so I've like, now in more coming into my body and embodying that third line and allowing it to lead a little bit more, and letting go of the fear from my mind of like feeling like I need to know everything has been really cool. And seeing, okay, the third line, like it's really about embodiment, right? It's really just about moving and discovering and feeling it out, seeing what happens, making the mistake, you
Yeah.
know, trying again. And yeah, it's been really cool to experiment with human design and allow that to come through in the body, because it really does change the way that you live when you just start doing it, and it frees you, and it frees your mind. It really has freed my mind a lot from the fear, I would say. Not
Mm.
that not that it's completely gone. I still deal with it a little bit, but the fear doesn't hold me back because now I'm like, okay, I don't know everything, so what? Let's go. Let's go experiment and see what happens.
And what do you? I mean, how is it? How did you take that first step? I think so many people, they don't ever take the first step to even experiment. It's much more comfortable to live in that information. So how did maybe you didn't have a choice as a third line, but was there a moment for you that made it easier, or you decided?
I don't, trying to think. I don't know if I remember any specific moment, or if it was just a gradual, learning and contemplating on this problem, and then just slowly letting go. And for me, it became a practice of embodiment, right? I had to slowly practice. And I think for me, because I have a defined mind, such a fixed mind, that I was always like super active, super fixed in the way I thought, that I really had to turn to my body and almost focus my mind onto my body. Like, it's like, okay, mind, we're not going to think about, things anymore. We're going to think about our body. And so it was almost like, allowing myself to feel into my body, reorienting my mind to that, and then allowing myself to feel my body, feel what was coming up, whether it was tension or pain or, you know, desire, hunger, whatever it was, just allowing my body to feel. And then, yeah, slowly, you know, learning what that looked like and allowing my intuition, my spleen to come forth. I almost did it in a way where it was like I was treating, and this is, I always wonder if this is because I'm a split definition where my mind is separated from the definition in my body. Like, I feel like I literally talk to my body, and I have my body that I'm like two different beings here. But like literally talking to my body and just like, okay, what are we gonna do, And I'd say actually, now I'm remembering, one of the big things is that I first started doing was just like, okay, in order to experiment with this and practice, when I wake up in the morning, it's like I'm literally just feeling, what does my body feel like doing today? And some days, there were days where it didn't feel like doing anything, and it didn't feel like getting out of bed. My mind would be like, oh, we should do this. And, or, oh, a little bit of yoga would be good. And so I would go to do yoga, but then I would just end up laying on the floor because my my body just didn't even want to stretch. It was
Yeah.
just like so exhausted that I was like, no, we're just gonna continue to lay here, So I was like, okay, and that was hard. It was very hard at first, and it still is hard sometimes because my mind is always like, oh, we got to be doing this, we got to do that, we have
Yeah.
this responsibility to take care of. But I'm still here and still going, so it's working so far. But yeah, it's definitely, I would say, the best thing that I've learning to do. I've learned how to do is really allow my body to lead and guide me. Because, like I said, one, I'm feeling a lot of that fear is going away. I'm not as afraid, even though, like, right now in my life, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing, no idea what's going on. But I'm so at peace and surrendered to life. That is like, okay, I trust in life that whatever's going to happen is exactly what's meant to happen, and I'm just going to allow myself to follow that and not try to manipulate it with my mind based on some agenda that I have that needs to get done.
I mean, I think that's the most profound realization ever.
Yeah.
That's it, I think.
It's so funny when you're talking about, letting go of the planning and the needing to have everything figured out, and just, being present with the person that you're with, and letting go of the scripts and letting go of all the notes and all those things. And I'm thinking about that, like, oh yeah, like I got this, even with this podcast, like, oh, I got all these questions, and I was like, as you're saying that, I'm like feeling this tension of like, am I doing this right? Am I asking, and I'm like, oh yeah, just got to be present here and just have a conversation just normally, like how would how would I be doing this if I just invited you over for a drink and we're just having a conversation. I wouldn't be stressed out in my body about, oh, what am I going to ask him next, like, oh, it's just like, no, just shut up and be present, listen to what he's saying, and then have an authentic response. So funny.
I think it just like shows up everywhere. It's like the same lesson everywhere, over and over again. And I think even like no matter how complex it gets for me, like when I get down to the root of it, it's always the fucking same answer. Fucking relax, be present, enjoy. Fuck again. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was more complicated this time. I thought it was a different lesson this time. No, it's the same thing.
Yeah. I thought I learned that lesson already. Yeah. Here I am, tense again. Yeah. So let's talk about the Projector Lounge, because you started this really cool place online, the online community for projectors only. So why did you do that?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking like maybe I give my honest take of the Projector Lounge and the journey that it's been. I've learned so much. I think I always said like I don't know what it is. I don't know why I'm doing it. Like I really led with that. I just had this it was just this energy inside of me that wanted to create a space, because I didn't have many projector friends in my life. I feel like most projectors, we find ourselves surrounded by energy types because we're the ones who can guide, and we get taken advantage of, and we give ourselves away. And, it's very normal. A lot of most projectors I meet or I have sessions with, it's the same. They have a group of friends, and they're the only projector. So I think that's very common. And then back to that truth that I had inside of me of like, man, I feel alone. I'm surrounded by people, but wow, I really do feel alone. I'm alone a lot of the time. So I think I just wanted to experiment and see what it was like to bring a lot of projectors together consistently, and if that was going to change anything for me. John and Amy, who you've had on the podcast, they had at Human Design, High Desert Human Design one year, they had a projector workshop, projector only workshop. There was like 40 plus of us in there, and it was life-changing just sitting with other projectors, because of, to me, what I felt was, wow, there's a bunch of people packed into this room, and there's so much space, like just infinite space with all these people packed in, which you put one generator in the room, the space is gone. The whole space is now filled with generator energy. It's filled with this, this buzz. So to me, it was like, wow, I want to go here all the time. I want a safe space that I can come with other people who understand what it's like to be a projector, a non-energy type, and to have an exchange, and to see what happens. So I had no clue what would, if it was going to be something sustainable, if it was going to be cool, if it was not, what was it going to be? And it's been a journey since I started it. I think 7 or 8 months ago. But that was the core reason, was I just want to be with more projectors, because I don't have many in my life, and I think we unlock things in each other, and we recognize and see each other deeper than anybody else can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can say from my own experience that the lounge is exactly that. And you're right. And even though it's an online space and not an in-person, in Aura space, the energy, I mean, I remember from the very beginning, the energy just felt so different than any other online community or group that I'd ever been a part of. And the very first call, was just this amazing, yeah. I mean, I think there was a reminiscent of what you were saying. Like there was space and there was this peace and this calmness and a sense of recognition in everybody. Like,
Yeah.
everybody saw everybody else. And I felt seen among strangers for the first time. And we had this sense of camaraderie and, a similar life path and a similar experience with each other. And then, just being able to post and communicate and share what we're going through and be honest, with the experience that we're having, and feeling like safe to be vulnerable and just, you know, put put it out there and be like, this is sucks right now. This is what I'm fucking going through. And uh and everybody's just like, yeah, just there to be supportive and yeah, share whatever that comes to their heart. Yeah, so it's an amazing space, and I think, you know, uh, you being willing to follow that pull on your heart and create this space is an amazing gift for projectors. So thank you for creating that, because I think it's definitely needed. There's so many projectors out there that are lost or feeling confused or exhausted, not knowing why they are the way that they are because they're so conditioned to be an energy type. You know, I know firsthand, I know we all know firsthand, it's like being so conditioned to, go initiate and make things happen and, go work hard. And it's exhausting.
It's like you could say anything in there, and everyone's going to understand exactly what you're feeling or what you're talking about. It doesn't matter what it is,
Right.
It's like just yeah, complete recognition, and a space to, yeah, ground and feel seen.
Yeah. You mentioned this a little bit earlier about projectors 2027, but why do you think, or what do you feel, going into the future? Obviously, Ra has talked about, projectors being the guides and the leaders of the future. Why is it so important that we, as projectors, we really find that center within ourselves and what we're here to do? What do you think going into the future that's going to look like for projectors? Why is that so important?
To me, I think our gift is to be able to guide somebody back to their truth. That's what guiding is. It's not telling someone what to do or where they should go or what they should do for work, or all these questions that I get asked all the time. Like, I don't fucking know any of that stuff. Like, what the projector is here to do is to guide you back to who you are. And I feel like after this age of information, when I think it will eventually defeat itself. When there's nothing left to trust, or people don't know where to turn, the only thing they're going to be able to do is to look inside and find their own truth. So I think the projector is the one who's equipped to see it and to be able to assist in. It's like building confidence in that's I see it myself as like I'm someone who's here to help people eliminate self-doubt and to build confidence into taking the correct decisions that are gonna, yeah, bring them into alignment, and they get to experience whatever it is for them in this life. So I think projectors are kind of like the bridge between these two worlds in a sense, and yeah, we've just been gifted this sight
Yeah.
But
When you say two worlds, you mean the cross of planning, the cross of Sleeping Phoenix, or are you talking about?
I think it's like cross of planning, cross of Sleeping Phoenix for sure. But I think also like on a more microcosmic level, it's like these two worlds we have inside of ourselves, giving our authority away to somebody outside of us versus needing to come inside and trust ourselves. I think those are two different worlds, as well. It's like I don't know. It's like a bridge. It's like a bridging in some way. I don't know. Do you feel like there? I think there's this. It's like the yin and yang. It can just go down to that level of we're all caught in between. And for some reason, I think the projector is the one who's able to see the balance.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
What do you think? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know if I know too much right now. I get a sense what you're saying is true. To some extent, being that we can see very deeply into the other and who they are, provide that recognition to them. I feel like for me, one of the biggest things that I love about human design and I love about doing, teaching people human design, but reading their charts and just telling them who they are is, one of the biggest things that I always hear is like, I always knew that, but I was told that it was wrong or that I shouldn't be that way. And, now you're telling me that that's part of who I am and I should embrace it, it's just like this big, like, like, oh, I can be me, this thing that I always knew was me. Yeah. And that was one of my favorite parts. One of the coolest things, like, yeah, you can be you. You can, like that thing that everyone said, was too much or too big or too loud or too weird. Do that thing. Like, that's who you are, just embody that. And, that's authentically you. And it's so freeing for people. And yeah, I think it's going to be more important than ever. I mean, that's part of my own journey, was letting go of all that conditioning and really learning to love myself, right? Really, really embracing. And I think I came to the point where I realized, at least for me, but maybe for all of us, that one of the reasons, that we incarnate here on the earth is to learn how to love ourselves exactly how we are, exactly who we came here to be, because I came here to be me and I didn't come here to be anybody else. So why am I imitating everybody else? Why am I trying to be everybody else? Like, this is who I came here to be. This is the experience I came here to have. So stop fucking trying to be everybody else and just be me. Because that's what I wanted to be when I came here. So then being able to help other people see that in themselves, and like you said, it's like, I'm not telling them anything. I'm just kind of showing them what I see and then letting them unravel that for themselves and be like, yeah, follow it and see where it takes you. I can't tell you how to get there. I'm just what's that Buddha saying? I'm just a finger pointing at the moon, but I'm not the moon. You got to go experience the moon for yourself. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I don't know, man.
Who knows?
Who
It's
knows?
coming. You can feel it.
Yeah, it's coming. I'm excited. I think, right now it feels very chaotic. There's a lot of things in the world that are changing. There's a lot of fear. There's a definite baseline of fear frequency in the world. But overall, I'm excited because I know that, that chaos just means that change is coming, right? That's the we see that in gate 3 and gate 60, that channeling of the chaos, the difficulty at the beginning when things are changing, when the mutation is coming. It's difficult at first, but then it opens up and it gets so much better. Yeah. Are you excited?
I'm always excited. It's hard to talk about this stuff because the world is in chaos, but I do honestly do have a feeling that it's exactly how it's supposed to go, and it's hard to say that having, like, sometimes I just think of, like, how did I get this life? Like, how did I hate the word deserve, but it does, these thoughts do come to me, and I get to sit here in Bali and think about consciousness. I'm across a consciousness, and there's people suffering out there. And I think that's a big dilemma for a lot of people, but whatever, I can't go there. I see the way the world's going. And if you know the revelation of human design and you see it mechanically for what it is, to me, it's all perfect. It all makes complete sense. It's all exactly what's needing to happen. There's a huge shift that's coming, and things have to die in order to be reborn. So in that sense, like, I just feel so blessed and so lucky to be able to have that perspective of, it's all a movie. It's all okay. It is what it is. And I see so many people wrapped up in the chaos of it all, and it just destroys them, or their whole life becomes so negative or whatever. It's like, you can have compassion and feeling and disagreement and look out into the world and be like, this is fucked. But you can also simultaneously live the best life that you could possibly live. And how can you do the most in this life? And I'm telling you, it's not the way you think. It's not the sacrifice. It's not the reposting of all the shit and getting caught up in it all. This is just, forget what I was listening to the other day. He was like, these are maintenance people. There's so many people in the world that are maintenance people. They're just here to keep the illusion alive, but they're not living their design. They're not living their mythology and in bringing all of themselves to the world. And to me, it's a tricky conversation to have, because you can get caught in the morality trap and the privilege trap and all of that stuff so quickly, and there's nowhere to go, from it, other than shame and guilt, which is other frequencies that I don't subscribe to. So yeah, it's difficult to talk about, but I think it's all it's all bad and it's all good. It's just what it is,
Yeah.
So I know I have no say in the matter, and I know that I cannot change the world, but I can be myself individually and change one person at a time for the better, and that's what I'm here to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's all anybody can do. To circle back to the beginning, what we were talking about emotions and feeling it, right? If we think about it on a collective level, we're all feeling these emotions or these experiences right now. And even though a lot of us aren't directly experiencing some of the worst of it physically, it's still happening on our planet. We're all one organism. We're all part of this. You're blowing up right now.
I usually put my silence on my phone and it does it on my computer, and now it hasn't. Okay, it's good. Sorry.
It's not connected. That's all right. So we're all connected. We're all part of this organism of the earth. And just like when we feel negative emotions, or we call bad emotions, we have to feel them. It's just an experience that's moving through our body for whatever reason. I feel like we don't necessarily know the higher purposes of emotions yet, right? We don't have that full emotional awareness. But for whatever reason, we're experiencing this stuff on our planet right now. And if we get attached to it and say, like, oh, this is evil, this is wrong, it can't happen, then we're causing our own suffering, because we're getting so attached to that. And okay, where I'm at right now in my life, there's not much I can do about it, right? Physically, there's not much I can do. I can't just get up and go and provide aid to other countries or whatever is going on, or any of that stuff. So what I can do, though, is that I can, as best as I can, embody a frequency of love and peace and joy in my own life as much as possible, and help other people in my immediate environment, right? Just one thing at a time, one person at a time. And so that's what I would encourage anybody else to do as well, is like surrender to where you're at, instead of getting so attached to the negatives. It's like, be where you're at, and do the best you can with where you're at. I think that's all any of us can do. Well, it's we're coming up on an hour and a half, and I feel my throat starting to
Yeah.
fade.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you a couple more questions. One of them being, what are you most passionate about right now? And I have a feeling I know what it is. Is it the gene keys?
I was really interested into what you thought my biggest passion was at the moment. Dude, I don't even know.
No, I really do want to know. I just had to I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to tease him about the gene keys.
I haven't come out of the closet yet, but I've been reading the Gene Keys, and I think I've hated on the Gene Keys a lot in my human design process, and I'm really seeing it in a different way now. And I know in the human design sphere there's a lot of animosity there for whatever reason. To me, I think it's a story now. I went and actually watched some of his videos where he explains his time with human design, and was very satisfied in his explanations and credit that was given to Ra and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think so yeah, I've been into the Gene Keys, and it's great. It's been great. I just see it in a different way. My biggest
do you think
passion,
it's more of the
yeah.
Sorry, do you think it's more of that sixth line coming in, like
100%?
Yeah, because that's what I feel about it as well. Is it's this more embodied, like, I don't know. And Richard Rudd, he's a 4/6.
He's a
I believe, yeah, he's a 4/6.
He's a 4/6. I really see it as a continuation of Ra's work. I was so anti-love and light, spiritual, this stuff, and that's why I really loved human design in the beginning, because it gave me a very mechanical language to kind of ease my way into all of this stuff, and it was really transformative. And I think it, as much as Ra kind of tries to take the spirituality of it, the way it came into the world and the things he was given, it's such a spiritual, crazy, esoteric system. It is. But I think with his fifth line and his practicality, he tried to really go against all of that kind of stuff, because people can easily get caught up in it. I don't think I could have done Gene Keys in the beginning if I didn't have such a solid foundation of human design. And that's where I feel like I'm so lucky. I did six plus years of study of human design to get this base and to get this language, and to understand the gates in the not self way, because we live in a not self world. So it's like I think you have to start with human design. But now when I read the keys from Richard and I'm able to have the grounding already in the understanding of the not self, and I hear him speak about the higher frequencies of it, it just unlocks something else for me. And it's it's really given me a new sense of embodiment and possibility and contemplation of where we're going to go with it. Because Ra was all about the not self, which I was too, because that was the world. But I don't think we're in that world anymore. And I think even the young people being born, they're not, you don't need to give them a not self reading. They're ready. They're ready to transform. They're ready to go to these other places. I needed 6 years of not self because I was so conditioned and such a stubborn asshole, for a long time. So it worked for me, and it worked for those older generations because we had time. Now that the shift's coming, we don't have time. People are ready to receive the transmission, I believe. So for me, I see it as just a continuation. And he talks about Ra all the time. He talks about human design all the time. And I really do feel authenticity in his frequency. But I think you need to know your type. You got to know your centers. You got to, there's so much information in human design that isn't Gene Keys. So to me, the foundation, it has to be there of, and maybe type eventually doesn't even need to be a thing. But for me, it's everything. if I'd never heard the word projector, I wouldn't have had this transformation happen in my life. So, yeah, I do have a lot of passion with the Gene Keys right now, which is me eating my words, and I probably should come out with a public apology video at some point. But no, it's been a beautiful path.
Hey, it's all part of the third line experience, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think, as a third line, we're not a sixth line, right? But there is a resonance there. And I feel like the more you allow yourself as a third line to be messy, it's about adaptation, it's about change. It's about never being fixated on one thing. There's always room for the transformation. And to me, like there is such a sixth line quality. It comes from those third line phases, And so we can really embody the lessons that we've learned. Yeah, I think that we can be a great role model.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. Just to say one last thing about the Gene Keys is, like, for me, I found human design, learned a little bit about it, but then that led me to the Gene Keys. And then when I first read the Gene Key for my but in Gene Keys is the life's work, but it's your personality sun, 47. Like, that literally physically activated something in me. Like, I felt I couldn't sleep that night, and there was like this fire burning in my solar plexus. I don't know. And anyway, then I became obsessed with it, reading it. But then after a while, human design, pulled me in, and then I became so obsessed with learning all about human design on a very deep level. That actually helped me to understand Gene Keys on a whole new level, right? And then vice versa, where it's like, oh, like, so for me, I don't think you can separate them, because Gene Keys does come out of human design. And now when I'm going back and I'm reading different Gene Keys or contemplating on my own, knowing like, oh, this, knowing the center that it's in, and where, and the channel that it's a part of, because those are things in type that aren't talked about in Gene Keys. And to me, it's like, oh, that just adds a whole nother very critical level to it. But anyway, I'm glad that you have joined the Gene Key. Now we can have so much more to contemplate and talk about. So back to the question though, what are you most passionate about right now?
Dude, honestly, Gene Key's really up there for me right now. Like, I'm honestly like, it's unlocking physically a lot of things in me at the moment. And the way I see it is so funny. Like, I never liked the human design community. I don't resonate with a lot of people in the human design community. It's not really my style. When I look at Ra, he's sitting there chain smoking cigarettes, wearing all black, playing fucking his unique music, and it's just like, it's kind of like a dirty, grungy community.
Yeah.
It's not for me, honestly. And I've never really had many friends in that community anyways. And I've been talked about in not nice ways in that community. Then you go into Gene Keys, and here's Richard Rudd in his spiritual garb, sipping his tea and talking about like God knows what in his poetry language, So it's just like, to me, it's such a beautiful, it's so beautiful to put them together, because you have the two extremes, and I'm such a middle of the road kind of person. I'm across the consciousness. I got the 63-64. So it's like the left brain, right brain, and it's like the merging of these two things. And to me, it's all perfect. But it's just funny to really see like such vast differences, but also the similar thread that runs through it all. Then there, and the beauty that's there. So, to me, I'm my biggest passion at the moment is patience, and for the first time, feeling this sense of real patience in myself, and laughing at the fact that it took me 6 years of waiting for contemplating, waiting for the invitation to really start to feel like what that feels in my body. and to show up to Bali. Last year for me was about finding my place and finding a partner and finding where am I going to be. I was just looking for everything last year, and I didn't find it. It was chaotic. But this year, it's about patience. It's about showing up with as much presence as I possibly can, looking around and realizing where I'm at, and asking myself, how do I enjoy where I am in this moment. And that is a key that is unlocking magic and potential and invitation and new stuff. So my passion is patience. I'm going to keep telling myself that this year so I can really continue to bring myself back to it, because it's not like where I'm an enlightened being. It's like, okay, how often can I pull myself back to patience, pull myself back to presence, pull myself back to my strategy and authority. And I find this year, especially, I'm getting really good at it. I'm getting some like really long runs of being able to sit in this patience and this presence, and it feels great.
That's amazing. All right, last question. You may have already answered this, but what is the meaning of life, the universe, and everything?
The meaning of life is to love yourself and then uniquely share that love with everybody that you come into contact with.
Beautiful. That is amazing.
That's it.
Thank you so much for coming on. This was such a fun conversation. I loved it so much.
I love you, man. I knew the second I met you, we I can't wait to meet you in person, and I'm sure our paths will cross. And thank you for the invitation.
Yeah. I feel like they're definitely going to cross at some point. It's just being patient, right? Hey. When is that going to happen?
Waiting.
All right. We'll have an amazing day in Bali, and I'm going to have an amazing night here in Texas. So.
Terima kasih.